are really proud of. And we already as big as more than 100 specialists in the team, which is almost 10 times more than the average type foundry in Europe and in the world. So, without bragging too much, let's go directly to the topics to talk about. We'll be mentioning fonts and design, talk about some fancy professional words to understand each other, and then we'll talk about OpenType features and how they make the work with typography fun and functional, and some bonus content at the end. So, font and design. We all are creative people here, I guess, so we all are interested in doing beautiful things. And typography is one of the core assets of each and every brand. We can talk about images, colors, and everything that makes a brand and design distinctive. But people can implement pictures as they feel, and the audience can read the pictures, for example, as they feel. So there could be different meanings behind one same banner, for example. But when we talk about fonts, it's the most direct way to talk to your audience. So it's really important what font you choose and how you work with them if you want to achieve some specific results and make your audience feel some specific emotions. Let's just mention three big design fields like graphic design, the product design, communications. In graphic design, as you know, it's important to have aesthetics, to keep in mind emotions, to be remarkable. This field covers really, really wide range of tasks to use your fonts in. In product, in country, you don't really think about that much of a design and aesthetics. You think about functionality and usefulness. You still think about emotions, but it's more about emotions of interaction, especially if we talk about UX and UI. It should be adaptive, intuitive, accessible, quick loading, and this is when the creative parts might conflict with very nice fonts. They may be very beautiful, but for example, in the interfaces of mobile app, they will just not work. When you think about fonts, you need to consider all of the specifics of each field of use. And if you use all of this field in one project, you need to use different fonts or subfamilies or like different font payers. So you need to remember that some of them are creative and some of them are just functional. And sometimes they're mutually exclusive. In communications, you think about interconnection, about meanings and messages and consistency. So these can be the bridge between the first two, just as an example. So the goal defines the solution. When we think about what font to use and how to use them, we need to understand why exactly we use this font in this particular field. Users usually see the font like we have a finger, and then we have a button, an area of gentle touch. So we just touch the keyboard, for example, or your screen, and the magic happens. We barely think about how it happens and what can also happen, not just to see like we typed A and there is A on the screen. The font is a software. It has a layer of code, it has a layer of design, like the front is designed, under the hood there is a code, the engineering, and some intermediate layers we will mention. We will start with these basics and words. Usually we think that we use fonts and we use typefaces, and these might be one same thing. Not really accurate, but this is just, to warm up. You don't have to remember these words during the presentation, but maybe this will be new for you because font is one file in one style. So for example, regular, this is font. But when we speak about two fonts, like the whole family or subfamily, it is already typeface. So for example, TypeType Pro is bold, is a font you use. But if you use three styles, it's already typeface. So your project uses typeface, not just font, or three fonts in this case. Image for those who love skits as much as I do. So there is one font and there is typeface. There is also family and subfamily. Family is the widest definition. So all of the fonts under one name are family. And there is a subfamily, a set of unified styles within this family. For example, TypeType Pro is a family. It's a font family. It is normal, expanded, condensed with, but when we talk about only expanded one, the regular medium bold, for example, it will be one subfamily of TypeType Pro. So family and subfamily of the cat. There is also display and text. This is also very important to think. when you choose your typefaces, each of the fonts should have a goal of usage. So if you think about big, bold cover or banner or packaging, you'll think about display fonts to attract attention. Decoration attracts attention. And when you need to send a message, you will use just a regular font, which should be clear, easy to read, fast to read. You have just a couple of seconds to win your audience attention. So one display font attracts attention. It doesn't have to be like long sentence because it's hard to read. But once you attracted attention, there is another line with the text font, which is just simple and clear for dog lovers this time. So one is decorative and one is just simple, cozy and very familiar. And some additional words you might see in some articles. For example, if you explore typography, you might see these words, and I will mention them just to consider what do they mean and how can you actually use them. So there are sans serif fonts, like just basic ones. There are serif, usually more elegant, one handwritten when we think about human touch, and slab, something brutal, something very heavy and confident. This is just the kinds of categories of the font. And there is this word aperture, which means the degree of openness in a character. If you want your audience to read faster in the design, for example, especially in interfaces, for example, or small text on the packaging, you should consider the third one because it is more, it's easier to read. And the first one is more static. So when you see the aperture or when you want to use a nice word in your team gathering, you can say that we need to close the aperture because we want our design to be very fancy and static at the same time. There is also line height or leading. This is the distance between the neighboring baselines. If you type large texts on your website, for example, or applications, the line height should be larger than usually it's 1.1 or 1.2. So the space between lines should be large for the eye of your audience to read it easier way. When we think about something bold, loud, like again, posters and banners, we can make it as tight as on this website. Because usually I have internal, let's call it arguments with our font designers. They say like, don't make it so tight. It's not correct. The font should have space between them. But they are right because the fonts should have space between lines. But in some vision of graphic design, it is not a crime to make it as tight as on this slide. So when you think about line height or leading, this means how tight vertically your typeface is. There is also terminals, the cut of the stroke ending. It could be a diagonal, it could be like on the middle one, like different angles within one stroke, and it could be also just direct. It's also about static or dynamic fonts. If you need more dynamics, you can consider cut terminals. So they could be diagonal, for example, for sport brands or for something very energetic. This minor detail can change your design completely. So consider terminals next time. And contrast. In most cases, it's when we think about premium or about something like startup or technological. When we think about premium, we usually see these contrast serifs with different thickness of the stroke. And when we talk about IT giants like Google, for example, they have complete geometric Google Sans, their own font, which is always of the same thickness. So it's not contrast. And usually the audience expects it. When we think about premium clothing, we will expect more of contrast font. Maybe stereotypical, you as a creative world, you may use anything in any way because the rules are meant to be broken. But generally, if you want to be safe, it's fun to consider exactly these patterns of behavior. And another magic is kerning. This is what is made during the font development. It's not something that you can adjust during the usage of your font. So A and V, the most clear example how the pair of two characters work with each other. They have to match. And font designers, font engineers, they do it manually. Each font pair is adjusted manually during development. But when you want to have something like spacious or Titan, we will talk about spacing and tracking. This is something you most likely know about. So if you interface designers love to make it like -2% in Figma and feel very happy about how great it looks and works. And sometimes you want to make it airy and expand like +10%, and your text, your line is wider, much wider. This is something you can adjust. And finally, the OpenType features, the features and the secret side of many fonts. It's a code which is integrated during the font development. So it makes your work with typeface either fun for designers or functional for like maybe the other designers. If you actually know the OpenType features, any of them, and you already use them in your project, just send us any reaction or just emoji in the chat. It's interesting to see how many people do actually use them. If you don't, this information should be new for you. So features, finally, could be decorative and technical. Decorative ones, they adjust your visuals. They expand the opportunities of your design. I will show pictures later. And technical one improves the layout. So we will start with the design ones. It always depends on each specific font and typeface, because font designers, they make some sort of Easter eggs sometimes, or just they consider adding additional features during the development of the font. For example, this is TypeType. One font, two completely different images. The first line is the original one. It's Scandinavian serif, sans serif, which is quite brutal, confident. And you might like the vibe and feel of it, but it's too sharp. There is a feature to turn on the stylistic set and make it this soft by keeping the same emotion of the original font and the same connection to your initial design. Or for example, the decor is it's contrast font, but maybe you would want to have a special ad campaign to make it more aggressive, more distinctive. So there is a stylistic set which adds serifs to it, which is already pre-designed and is turned on by one single click. There are also alternative forms of frequently used letters. For example, A or G, they can be one story or two stories. Like on this slide, the first one is 2 stories. And if, for example, your logotype has 1 story and you want all of your communications look consistent, you will just toggle it on because it's already pre-designed. Okay, it can be just get a softer legs, for example, or G. Everything is great, but the G might look too brutal for you. There is alternative in TypeType, like on this image. Or Q may become less classic already by keeping the original image of your font. There are also ligatures. They can be two groups of them. The standard ones, they usually are turned on by default by many software environments. And some of them could be rare. You have to turn them on manually so they don't break your original design. OGKK, a lot of different combinations could be there in Latin, in Cyrillics, for example, very rare image. So it could, if you work with Cyrillic font in Europe, for example, you may have the option to stand out with these ligatures if you know that your font has them, because this is a really rare case to see them in action. It definitely attracts attention. Or, for example, this image can turn into like one logotype, just 3 glyphs. And you have this is a rough example of something looks like a word, for example, but you can see how you can just use 3 glyphs and have a word written in an artistic and creative way. Also toggled on just with a couple of clicks. Or we can go with alternative diacritics. This is a Hungarian word. And you cannot just make like an E, the second letter to be connected, but you can just go even further. This font, TypeType again, it has integrated diacritics already pre-designed, balanced by font designers. So it will work perfectly. Or if you feel like this looks fun but not fun enough, you can go with the emojis with that, or whatever you feel with this image. You can go creative with something already pre-designed and expand it and bring your vision to your design with this combination of tools. Or sometimes the stylistic set already pre-designs the entire alternative form select for the all font lines. This is Titinoris. I made it as tight as possible. I hope my colleagues will forgive me for that. The first one is the original one. The second one with alternative upright cursive. So it's like handwritten, but it's upright. And it changed. You see that it's cozy place with taste in the first line, yeah, okay. But on the second one, you feel it. You don't just read it, you feel it. Also, as an example, how you can change with one stylistic state, you can change completely different all of your message. Table numbers, the numbers that are like spaced on the same distance from each other. Usually we know it's from monofont, but we can also use them in tables, in big data, when we need to have numbers clear. So in standard numbers, the proportions are different. So if you place like large number of numbers, they don't stand under each other. In table numbers, they stand right under each other. So it's easy to track them all directions. It also can be turned on by features. We will talk about the how to do it later. But this can be useful when you work with interfaces or data, big data, or like tables. Numbers could also be in circles. Most, if not all, of our fonts have their numbers. So this is TT Ricordigretto, very playful and flexible Florentine font. So it can be outlined or filled in, and there are different ways to use it. You can make a list, not just one point and the line goes from there, boring. Sometimes you can go with the creative one, like fancy list, or you can make links within text to make it distinctive. You don't have to color it, but just if you color it, you will definitely make your audience to pay attention to that. And it's already balanced. So when you put it right into the text box, you don't have to adjust it. It's already perfectly balanced. Or you can make like scheme image or like charts and everything like that with cats again. So I'm a cat person. Sorry, I had to add this many cats to my presentation. So you can make links right from the image. And numbers and circles can be also in squares, in diamond shapes, in ovals, and all that. It depends on the style of the font. If the font supports it, it will look consistent and within the character of the original font. There are also contextual alternatives, the more boring thing, which affects how easy to read your communications. There are some glyphs, pyroglyphs, that are not really popular. They're rare, but if they stand with each other, like on the left, they stand too close, or this is a much clearer image. And this feature adjusts this rare pair of glyphs, so they don't stand further from each other, but the tail, for example, like G and J, they stand further. Just one detail makes more space with one click. And that was the design part. And when we talk about the under the hood one, this is more about making your work faster and easier. Maybe you have noticed in many devices, like mobile devices, smartphones, when you type two dashes, it creates one big dash. This means the font supports it. Like, for example, in Apple devices, SF Pro, the typeface they use, it supports all of these alternatives. Sometimes you spend really unforgivably long time to typing all the same glyphs again. With these features, it can just make your work faster and neater. Or ordinals, if you need to make a number, the glyph number, you don't have to search for it. You can, if this feature is supported, you can just type NO and dot, and it will transform into pre-designed glyph automatically. And this is, I think, number one pain point in most of design, and especially if in interfaces. Interface design, user interface. When you type all caps or numbers, the brackets, the dashes, the semicolons, and different other glyphs, they stand just lower than they should be. And this is not a mistake for type designers. It has to be lower because it's adjusted on the lower cases by default. But sometimes you need to make it like on the right. And a lot of designers do it manually. Like we select one bracket, change the baseline, or put one additional layer of text box above the first one. So it's like, it looks completely like a headache, a nightmare. With the case-sensitive punctuation, This feature allows you to automatically change them all accordingly to the caps and numbers. So like on this example, you can see that everything is aligned perfectly with the caps. So it can save you a lot of time if you feel this pain right now, as I felt once again. There is also /0. You saw it in coding in password generators to make O and 0 distinctive. So one single element, it can be also turned on in the feature list, and your numbers in mono fonts, for example, they become clear. Fractions. Rare case, but sometimes we also have to use fractions. And they are pre-designed in many fonts, not just 1 and 2, made smaller. They are redrawn, rebalanced within one glyph by font designers. When this feature is on, you just type 1/2 and it will transform into 1 second. So where to find all these features? There are many more other features in the fonts, and we're really invited to explore. And they are supported in all of Adobe Suite, in Figma, in CodeDraw, and in Apple Office, like in Keynote, for example. Unfortunately, they are not supported in PowerPoint yet. So if you work with PowerPoint presentations, it's better to use the features somewhere else, like in Figma again, or Illustrator, for example, and export them and add it to PowerPoint presentation. Sadly, this is the only option to work with Microsoft at this point. But all the other listed environments, they support it. In Figma, we go to the typography block. There is this blue button you can see on the right. So we pick them and we have a new tab. Usually it says on the basics and we don't go deeper. The basics are the basics, but all the additional features are in the details. When we go to the details, there is a list of all the features this exact font supports. They are grouped for technical, for punctuation, for numbers, for stylistic sets, like on the image now, and all the additional, sometimes minor but important details also in this tab. So you can see what is active, what can be applied to this specific text, or you can just toggle everything you need to have and expand this setting to other text blocks. In InDesign, for example, there are more ways to find them. The first one, we can just select one specific glyph in the text box, and you can see the additional alternatives already suggested in the pop-up window. Or there is a tiny O image in the text box, like on the bottom half, and it opens the list of alternative features. And also you can just go to glyphs windows and copy paste them. And characters, from character you go to menu, open type, stylistic sets, and all of the sets are there. So there are 3 ways to find them in Adobe, in InDesign, for example. In ligatures, they in Figma all, like I mentioned, in one place. In Illustrator, there are in OpenType window, there are 2 one of the standard ligatures and rare ligatures. So you turn them separately. And if you work with web fonts, it can be turned on in CSS as well. So you just type the font feature settings and list the stylistic set number, and it will work on your website live. Why, you might ask, do you need these features? First of all, as I mentioned, they increase speed of work, like really increase. When you get used to them, you see how faster you can work, especially with technical features. They decrease routine, repetitive actions that you might perform through your work. They're handy and really beautiful. When we talk about alternative sets, you don't have to find something on the internet to make like ligature or connected glyphs. They might be there already. And strengthen your hard skills. If you work with clients, if you're an agency or independent designer, or if you work within your in-house team, it shows that you don't only know colors and imagery and the overall layouts, you also know typography. And these details, they just boost your expertise even further. So it's an expansion of opportunities to design as you desire, as you see in your head. Sometimes you think that this font could do better and you just think and forget about it. But if you try to find what else under the hood, it actually might do better. And how to find the features if you don't have the font, for example. This is image from our website. Most of foundries, if not all, they have the specimen link on the font page on the side. So we also have it. You can visit any font page of our library, and there is a specimen button. This is a PDF document, which usually shows all the styles, all the text samples in big, medium, and small sizes, so you can see how it performs before you get your font. And it also has the list of the features. You can see them before and after right in this document, and the number of them to test in CSS, for example. And it also has all the glyphs, like the table, the chart map of characters. So you can see all the alternative glyphs, all the ligatures, all the icons, and everything else. So now about some bonus content. I hope you are still ready to consume even more fancy words, like, mono with font. They are just like encoding and in terminals. But there is also uni-width font, something that you may consider for its flexibility. So in Mono, each box of the glyph is equal. So like with the numbers, with the table of numbers, each glyph stands under each other. In uni-width, it's just regular font with different proportions. But there is one hook. This is, for example, TypeType Pro. When we type the same phrase or word and increase thickness or style or weight, the line changes. It becomes longer because the font has to compensate the difference, that it kind of eats itself from within, and it becomes wider. It's inevitable for regular fonts. But with uni-width font, they stay proportional, but the length of the line stays the same. And the compensation becomes not outwards, but inwards. So the font becomes thicker inwards in this case. So it can be extremely crucial when we talk about interface again, like the buttons should be of the same length, or the ready design concept. You already have everything works, you designed everything well, but then you think maybe this font is not bold enough, not heavy enough. You just change the style and everything is ruined. That's a really unpleasant experience. With the uni-width font, it just doesn't. And it's time to mention that most of our fonts in TypeType, we can make them uni-width. For example, TypeType Pro on the left, it is not uni-width by default, but if you chose this font for your project and you need to make it uni-width, just reach out to us. We can adjust and modify this font for you, so it can become uni-width. And this is another comparison with Mono uni-width. So in Mono fonts, the length of the line is also the same, but you can see it's too airy. All the distance between glyphs is the same. All the glyphs are placed in the same place, and it looks too technical, like it's a code, basically. But with uni-width, it looks natural. So the same effect, but completely different usage of the font. There's also variable technology. I would love to talk a lot about it, but this is the whole other topic. So usually, by default, there are three axes. It's length, it's width, and weight. If you think that static preset styles are not enough, in variable fonts, you can just use the slider and visually adjust each of them, the slant, the grade of slant, the width and weight, separately or all together. So you adjust your typeface right live. Right as you do, you can see how it changes and works. Sometimes the axes are creative. You don't change this basic axis, you change how it looks like from the display one to text one. From very creative one, it can become very calm one, all within one font file. So this is very amazing technology, and it also the feature that you could explore. In Figma, for example, if the font is variable, the same window, but it's not basics and details, there is another tab, like variable. You just open the third one and can play with it. It also supported in Adobe. So this is one of our showcases when the first 3 points are the basic of TypeType Pro, like it can be narrow, regular, and wide. And our client in Japan, they said that they need super wide. we did several iterations, make it wider and wider, and they were like, no, it's not wide enough, let's make it extreme. So we made it. If you're interested, just visit our website. We have an article about it. It has animations. Turns out they needed it for motion. So they animate the font. The variable technology lets you animate the font. And they made this very live and vivid. When you scroll their website, you can see how it changes. So when you have this goal, you can make something that the font has not yet included. There are also icons, like imagery. In our fonts, they are themed related. For example, we have TT trailers. If you can see my pointer, this is the movie themed icons already built in. If you talk about TT Interfaces Pro, it has interface icons. So if there are some very flowers in TT quality, if you want to have icons and you don't have time to look for vector images online or your library, you can just check. Maybe the font already has them. You can use them as patterns. They work like a vector image within the font. They also scale to the size of the letters of the line. So they're scaled up, scaled down without losing quality. They're sharp, clean in any size, and they work with text perfectly. So you don't have to readjust each and every step you change your font. TT Pro, our bestsellers, has just updated recently, and we added interface icons. We made a research and added comprehensive set of icons you may use in your designs, like in your mockups or in even in the interfaces. So they work perfectly clean with TT Pro itself. Again, back to Shift Brain. The super extreme wide font is not enough. We added their theme to the font. They said, we have images of our team, why not to add them and type our faces with the keyboard? Why not? This is also fun and to use this font like their asset. It's their font now because they can see it, and they can also scale it up and down and use them in any way possible. Or sometimes we don't add icons as a separate glyph. We add them through customization to the glyphs. This is a pet show, Vietnamese company of pet food. For example, if they make packaging for dogs, they have this stylistic set turned on, and there is a dog inside the glyph. It has also dog ears, dog tails, and diacritics becomes part of the whole identity of the product, integral part. If this is a cat food, it's a completely change to the cat images. That's really, we love this case so much. If you're also interested, you can check out the case on our website. And there are arrows. They could be basic ones, the default ones, or they could be creative, like hand, or like arrows in circles, or contrast ones. Our fonts have their stylicized, I don't know how to say it, their style of the arrows. So you use them seamlessly in your design, and it looks really great, especially if it's contrast font. So your arrows also contrast. Really nice to you. So by this, we dare you to explore. We dare you to look into your fonts you already have. We dare you to explore our library to see what our fonts have. And we dare you to create with this, because it's not just fonts, it is a tool of your design and your expression. This is the QR code for our trial library. So we invite you to check it. It has all of our current library fonts with the freshest up-to-date version. The chair map is not limited, so you can use them in your demo, in your mockups, in your projects before the production for free. So it has all the features included that I mentioned. It has all the icons, all the technical features as well. So you can go there, check them, download, and if you love them, just get back to us and we'll be happy to assist with purchasing it. And this is the article to our blog. If you're interested to read more about our cases, about technologies, about variable technology as well, we have a separate article there. So please welcome and explore. And on this note, I end my speech. I will get back to the blog or even to the library for a moment if you need to scan it once again. So I hope this information was really interesting and useful for you. Please let me know if this inspired you to create and to explore I love fonts a lot, not because I'm from TypeType. I loved them before TypeType. So this is a real nice tool to express yourself more than just with images and colors, but also with typefaces. So if you have any questions regarding the OpenType features or how to work with our fonts, please let us know in the chat or contact us. I'll just open the chat for now to see if there is. Yeah, there is a feedback about CSS code. I really appreciate that it was useful. Yes, CSS codes, they really make life easier, and you may have your test files in Figma and enjoy some features, and then you may think that, oh, if I upload this like WOF version of the file, for example, on my website, will it work? Yes, it will. It'll just be if you need any help with how to turn on them, if you need any help with how to find the list of the features to write in CSS, also reach out to us. We'll be happy to assist. So I see there are no more questions to the presentation. So thank you guys again for coming. It was really nice to share this information with you. Just visit us, visit our website, talk to us. We really love to talk, as you could see. So just create and be there for the beautiful things. Thank you again. So follow us and see. We will have more webinars coming. That's a spoiler alert. So we will be sharing even more information in the future. Thank you. Bye-bye.